Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 36 of Ask the CEO with Avrohom. Today, I'd like to introduce a very special guest. He's the sales director of cloud telephony provider Natterbox, and he has been a leader in the cloud industry for over 12 years. He sat on the boards of Eurocloud, FAST, the Cloud Industry Forum, and is a judge on the UK Cloud Awards. He has been rated as #1 global SaaS influencer by Cloud and #1 social influencer 2017 by Analytica. He is widely published on Cloud, is an approved writer for Cloud Tech, and has been published by National Computing Center. He was awarded UK Sales Director of the Year by Institute Sales and Marketing and is widely known as a leading social seller. It is my honor and pleasure to welcome the one and only Moyse. Welcome, Ian.
Hi, Avrohom. Thank you very much for having me today. Thanks for a great introduction as well.
My pleasure. Where are you calling in from?
Just on the outskirts of London in the UK.
Awesome. You know, one of the things I find fascinating by talking to business leaders from all over the world is just the fact that the world is round. It's morning for me, afternoon for you, and night for someone else, and we're all doing the same thing.
Yeah. And the world's smaller than, with the technology we now use today, the world's smaller than we've ever seen.
Exactly. I mean, we're just sitting in the same room here.
Feels like it, yeah.
So talking about cloud, this is a great segue. So Ian, you obviously have a passion for cloud sales and social selling. So tell me something else about you that's not so obvious.
That's a good question. Something not so obvious. I like amateur street magic. How about that one for you? So I'm known to randomly pull out a pack of cards when we're with customers and take on the entertainer piece. Although I don't charge for it, I often do it in work environments. So it's a little bit of fun you can bring into the work environment.
I can imagine. Yes, and you know, that's what we really need. You know, everybody needs a little bit of fun every now and then, so really cool. So Ian, as the sales director of Natterbox, tell me a little bit about what Natterbox is. What are some of the solutions that it offers?
Sure, so to keep it simple for the listeners, we are transforming how telephony works. So utilizing the new world technology, cloud, enabling customers to better serve their customers. So what I mean by that, you know, when I look at the technology space, and particularly telephony, it's always been very technology-led, very complex, and the telecom world still is. What we're doing is removing the complexity, so customers don't need to worry about all the terminology and running it, and plugging in, all the things that they don't have the in-house expertise or want to have, but what we're giving them is the quality. So what do you need? As we're talking now over here, high quality communication, but then the flexibility in today's world to make it personal. Personalized calling, the buyer journey. How do I improve the customer's interaction with us? And everyone looks at the website and the optimal journeys on things such as that. We do that via the telephony. What's the optimal journey for your customers to engage with you over telephony? And how can you be smarter in doing that and make it easier and more affordable for your business? That's probably the potted piece what we do.
Got it. You know, one of the things I love about what you're saying is that you've completely turned around what many people view as a commodity. You know, telecom today is really viewed as a utility or a commodity. And what you're doing is you're actually focusing on the benefits. What can we offer the business in terms of customer experience? How can we help your business?
Yeah, and what we've done uniquely is totally move that platform inside the Salesforce CRM platform. Let me give an easy example in 5 seconds. Wouldn't it be nice if you call a business and they recognize the number and they know which part of the business to put through, because you only ever deal with a particular department, or their phone system identifies you by name because it recognizes, hi Ian, we'll put you through to your account manager now, and it knows from the data in the CRM your name and who your account manager is, and it just makes the connection rather than forcing you through press all those buttons. And that's really easy to do with the technology we provide the customer.
Gotcha. And, you know, being in the telephony business, I can relate to what you're talking about. And one of the things I tell people about the advantage of dealing with a smaller company versus a large company, for example, is that customer support experience. When you call a large company, exactly like you said, press 500 different options, and maybe you'll get someone in a similar department that doesn't know who you are.
Yeah. So we're empowering customers to, through the use of our cloud telephony technology, remove that barrier with a customer. The phone shouldn't be a barrier, it should be a connector. And I think we've gone down the line of using traditional telecoms and traditional technology to automate and make our business more effective, but what it's done is made it less effective for the customer. So we're putting that back.
Gotcha. So you mentioned Salesforce. So how does your telephony solution integrate or work with Salesforce?
Sure. So we worked really hard to embed end-to-end our whole system inside Salesforce. So we're the only and the first technology provider to do that. There is no one else can do that end-to-end, and that includes allocating numbers. So a Salesforce administrator can administer now your phone system with no knowledge of phone-type technology. And within there, imagine a marketing manager being able to allocate a new phone number for a campaign, grab it within Salesforce. You're not leaving Salesforce at any point. Grab that number, put it on your data sheet that you're about to do an event for, link it to a campaign in Salesforce. You do the event, knowing that anyone phones back in on that phone number, that call will automatically create a lead in Salesforce with the correct campaign source, because we know the phone number they've called in through. All of that automated, set up yourself very quickly without any telephony knowledge. So we've embedded the whole piece and empowered you to all that data conversation within Salesforce. All the data in Salesforce now helps you serve the customer, and the customer inbound helps feed the data to you. What we've had from clients' side is better data quality in Salesforce, better productivity of the agents, better customer service and experience for your external customer. So it's a win-win all the way around.
Yeah, gotcha. I can definitely see that. Having administered many different phone systems and worked with customers, one of the benefits I see right away is just speed. From the time that the plan is in place to create that campaign until it actually gets executed, usually involves either a call to your telephony provider or having to open a ticket with your IT department to create that direct inward dial number and redirect it to your campaign. Until that happens, that takes place, a lot of time goes by. So what you're basically enabling is not just the experience, but the speed of implementation.
Absolutely. And so a great example, we just did the Salesforce Demo Jam and the Salesforce World Tour in London. We're proud to say we won the Demo Jam against 6 other app providers being compared. And what we did in the 3 minutes given is we provisioned all of the audience to be our operators, our agents, simply by texting in. They texted a number. We automatically added them as an agent in Salesforce, provisioned, while that was going on, one of our team provisioned a new phone number, got someone else to phone that number, diverted it through to a web phone in Salesforce. We rejected that because we're busy at home, we've got another call or the kids are screaming, whatever, our home worker, and that then directed the whole sales team. The sales team was the audience, and all of their phones rang. 3 minutes, we provisioned a whole configuration of all those agents and all the ruling to redirect. This can be done very, very quickly, and that, I think you hit the nail on the head. Much of what we do, not all, but certainly some of what we do can be done in other systems, but you typically don't because it's too painful, too time-consuming, so people just don't do it. They want to do it, but it's just too hard. We make it click and point. You can now do all these wondrous things without having to call a provider. Where you can do it with your Salesforce administrator, or if it's delegated, the marketing manager, the sales director can do certain parts that you've allocated them to themselves. They can get on and use the power of telephony and the Salesforce together like you've never done before.
That is beautiful, and I find that fascinating how you're able to set up remote people as quote unquote remote agents just via having them text into the system. So just thinking of a scenario, so let's say you have a travel agency with remote agents all over the world. They don't need any special hardware or software. They can just program their or have their mobile phone number programmed as an agent and they're ready to go.
Yeah, correct. We've also taken it one step further. What we've also built into the offering is a web phone within Salesforce. So to give you an example, I could go to any PC in the world, log into my Salesforce instance. Once I'm in front of Salesforce, I've now got my desk phone live with me. No software, no soft phone or software to install on the machine. I am now live with my customer data ready to go and a web phone. But if someone rings me or I'm outbound, you do it within Salesforce. And because it's all cloud-based and we've integrated it fully, it's all transparent to the user. They're not aware that how this is working and the fact it's calling out through our global infrastructure.
That is beautiful. Now, are there any physical instruments that you need, or is it all PC-based or software-based?
Yeah. We support the mix. So we support desk phones and devices and of course mobiles through to, we will provide where customers want a soft phone, through to the full package, which is using the web phone in Salesforce. And you can mix and match. The beauty of this is we understand in businesses, not everyone's going to have a Salesforce login, but you can still administer your whole telephony platform inside Salesforce. You have your Salesforce users, and that is simply when you provision their phone, their desk phone with them. That's all very consistent and linked together. And then over here, you have users who don't have a Salesforce login. You still provision them in Salesforce, but you don't need a Salesforce license. Because what we're really doing is configuring the policy and rules that if someone calls this direct dial number, which phone do you want to ring? So all Salesforce is doing, in effect, is becoming the administration portal onto our cloud-based Natterbox infrastructure of what to do if someone calls that number. So we don't have to have everyone in Salesforce. You can mix and match Salesforce, non-Salesforce users, mobile phones, typical desk phones, soft phones, and also the web phone in Salesforce, all transparently. How do you want to work with the customer to effectively empower your business? And that's what we allow.
Really nice. Now, one of the things to this point, one of the things that I deal with many times out in the field is roles-based administration. So you may have, let's say, a help desk agent or a help desk technician that may be responsible for things like password resets or checking voicemail or programming buttons, or minor features, but you may not want to give them access to some of the more intimate portions of your telephony infrastructure. Do you have that kind of capability?
Yeah, absolutely. So we apply the Salesforce security model because we sit inside it. So in the same manner, you can have different access privileges to what users can do. So the typical user will just use it as a phone. You might give them some local configuration of the buttons they have on there, but that's pretty much it. Whereas the full administrator will be able to administer the whole phone system, including using Salesforce Process Builder, so using their tool, the telephony routing. Let me give an example there that's perhaps an obvious one. What about if in your business you have thousands of sales opportunities going on, but there are certain ones that are more important than others, i.e. based on the size of opportunity, $1 million deals, do you want to treat those differently? If those few $1 million prospects call in, what do you want to do? Perhaps you want to push them to the front of the queue straight away. Simply within the process builder in Salesforce, that's what you configure. And a few quick with and clicks, anyone from any of the gold numbers or anyone from an opportunity where the value field is greater than $1 million, automatically up into the front of the queue. So based on Salesforce live data, you can enact the outcome of the telephony experience of the customer.
So that's definitely something to consider. So now we're not just talking about customer retention, but we're actually talking about new sales.
Absolutely, and support. Think about support where people have typically maybe bronze, silver, gold packages with response times. How do you manage that? Do you currently give them a different phone number each, or would it be good to give them a number, the same number, but simply by the setting within Salesforce, the telephony system would interact with them and prioritize them in the correct manner automatically. So therefore, if you upgrade a customer from one to another, they would immediately get the telephony experience correct for their level without touching the telephone system because it's rules-based.
I love that. You know, there's so many times that I've come into situations like this, so I can appreciate the level of administration that takes place. And this just like that, it just simplifies it.
Yeah.
So Ian, I'm totally blown away by this solution. Who would be an ideal candidate for a customer?
So ideal candidates, firstly, it's customers who care about the customer experience. If you're just looking for a cheap telephony, you just want to be able to make phone calls, but there's no experience you're trying to wrap around it, there are far cheaper providers out there. We're not the Rolls-Royce, but we're not cheap. We appreciate and say to our customers the value that we deliver to them into their business. So what we deliver them is top and bottom line benefit. And by that I mean you can create operational efficiency with the team. They can make more calls to the right people at the right time, utilizing the data you have, and the customer experience in terms of redirecting the call to the right place in the most effective manner. You may want to record calls. You may want to link those straight to Salesforce records, or less clicks. So the customer can be on the lines less because you can wrap up calls quicker using automatic wrap-up codes. And also, one of my bugbears is always calling through and getting transferred because I'm not in the right department personally, and then having to repeat the whole story again. You know, if you're using Salesforce data to pop it on screen, as you transfer, the data can pop, people can be on the same data so that the information flow goes with the call. So our ideal customer, if you said the perfect customer, would be multinational, Salesforce seeing the value in Salesforce. Perhaps they're concerned about Net Promoter Score, their NPS score, the customer quality, and this can be support organizations, sales organizations, inbound and outbound calling. It varies. Some mix that, some have got a very specific focus. Our big differentiators are the fact we're fully embedded in Salesforce more than any other provider, and the fact that we own our own telecoms provision through 8 data centers around the globe. So we can assure the quality right around the globe, which many providers struggle. Many providers are regionally based. If you've got an operation in Asia Pac, perhaps Europe, perhaps the US, one provider becomes difficult to choose because the call quality bounces around the internet. With us, we assure the call quality globally. And we built that from outset 7 years ago to make sure that the underlying infrastructure could deliver that. That's the fundamental.
Yeah, definitely the latency there. So whether the customer is in the US, Canada, Australia, you have data centers that can support that in the region.
Yeah, we've got 8 data centers around the globe. So a couple in North America, several in Asia, Europe, and the UK. So absolutely. And that's our own equipment. And we actually operate at the telco level. The Nannabox is if you look at it, whilst we're a cloud software provider in our technology, we also operate at the telco level, which gives us key advantages in serving a customer in the ability to provision these numbers. And also, if there should be an issue, we can redirect the traffic through different telco provision very, very quickly so it doesn't affect the customer.
Yeah, and one more benefit that comes to mind when you mention multinational. So if you have offices on different continents, so think about having what they call least cost routing. You have a person that calls in from Canada that gets routed to an agent in Europe that then transfers out to somebody in Africa. And
we can do that all on the same platform, invisible to the customer. Absolutely.
Fantastic. So moving on in the cloud world, I know you're active on the cloud, just in the cloud industry in general. What are some of the topics that you're passionate about?
So a couple of data points. I think the biggie is data security and data privacy, and it remains In all the cloud surveys, Cloud3 Forum, which I sit on the board of, does an annual survey, and every year data security, data privacy are the top two that come out, and it retains today. You know, looking back, I'd have thought 12, 13 years ago when I got into the cloud sector that by this sort of period, we have seen that reduced, but it's still a concern. And I think what stimulates that is the data leaks, you know, the phishing attacks, and the breaches that we consistently see in the press around the globe. Not all of them are cloud-based, of course, but anything internet-based, by definition, the consumer will associate with cloud, like for like. So I think that retains the highest piece, and certainly in Europe, I speak often on a subject. There's a new data law, GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation. That will become, it's already in place as a law, but it will be live in terms of being enforced 25th of May 2018. And that really changes the game, because it puts more power in the hands of the consumer that it's their data, and it puts more pressure on the data processor, the cloud provider, in terms of if getting it wrong, what is it going to cost? Which is a good thing. You know, there should be more pressure on this data is critical to the individual.
Yeah, and I could relate to that. I'm in the US, but I think not a year goes by that I don't get a letter from some big company or another. We've had a data breach, and you've got 1 year subscription to credit monitoring, and we've all been there. So with regards to this law, the General Data Protection Regulation, right? So what are some of the implications of this law?
So there's several. Firstly, it's European-wide. UK included, despite Brexit, that does not affect this. Secondly, it does affect other countries around the world, because if you're going to be trading with providers or customers in the EU region, you can expect to be asked about much more regimentally, how are you going to protect my data? Because I think the supply chain is what's going to drive it. So if you can think, if a customer, everyone's going to become compliant with this law, by the way, in Europe. But if a customer has data and they're in the UK or Germany and they've become compliant, and I'm now about to share my data with you in the US, if I don't do diligence to protect that data, I risk my compliance with GDPR myself, because I'm exposing risks to the data set. So it will impact companies outside the EU. And some of the fundamental changes are that previously, a data breach did not have to be reported by law. So firstly, many companies may have covered this up or dealt with it internally. GDPR enforces that within 72 hours you have to report a potential data breach to the authorities, which means it's going to get out there. We're going to see more news and more press on the bad stuff come next year, that's for sure. Secondly, you're then going to have the risk of a much larger fine than you've ever had before. So let me give you context. In the UK, the largest fine under current law that is permissible for a data breach is £500,000. Under the new law, it is 4% of your prior year's global turnover, or 20 million euros, whichever is the greater. So to cite a recent example, TalkTalk had a breach a couple of years ago. The fine was 80% of the maximum of 400,000. Under the new law, the fine would have been around 17 million euros. This is the drive is a very different behaviour in customers and businesses in how they protect the individual citizens' data. Because getting it wrong is going to have a commercial impact. It's going to have a PR impact that people are going to know about it. And thirdly, my prediction is we're going to see lawyers, and I'm sure you have them over the air, you know where I'm going, I think. We're going to see lawyers doing the class action suit. If you've got a data breach, contact us, we'll get you compensation. And under GDPR, civil action is now permissible. So the individual can cite for damages from the data breach. Now that may be emotional damage or not. So we're going to see a lawyer, the minute they see a data breach of 30,000 people, if you're one of those 30,000, contact us, we'll get some claim for you back. And as soon as the authorities find that organisation, that is evidence of being guilty, my legal case is sound, I just now have to negotiate how much. So for companies getting it wrong, there's a triple whammy: fine, PR, and then civil action.
Yeah.
Now's the time to fix it. So, this is take heed. This is important stuff.
Yeah, and I could also see many companies in the U.S. and elsewhere adopting voluntary measures in order to become compliant in GDPR, or they risk isolating themselves in the global marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that supply chain. You're going to see requests for information, invitations to tender. This is what I'm promoting to businesses in the UK. Whether you believe you need to be GDPR compliant, which if you hold personal data, you have to be, but whether you're doing anything about it, you're going to be driven to by your supply chain, upwardly and downwardly, because they're going to come to you saying, if you want to keep trading with us, we're ethical at becoming compliant. For you to still deal with us and transmit data back and forth, we need to know you're compliant. Where do you stand? And if you don't have a good answer, they're going to move. They're going to go somewhere else. So I think the monetary, the first thing will be the pain of that. But getting it wrong, we're going to see some big businesses getting big fines, and I think that's when everyone will panic and we'll see a lot of resource thrown at this. Right now, there's a lethargy around this because people aren't aware of it or aren't educated in some of the points I just shared with you.
Gotcha. So Ian, this is all fascinating stuff you're sharing with us. How did you get started with all this?
Where did I start? I'll do it very quickly. So at age 14, a neighbour moved in with a 1K computer, a ZX81 as was, 1981, that ages me. And within a couple of lines of seeing a few things it did, I was hooked into technology. So I started off as a programmer at IBM and moved into sales purely because I was passionate about computing and saw an opportunity to earn more money, to be frank, than I could have. I was good as a programmer, but I wasn't the best. And that was a very competitive market. But I'm still passionate about technology. And really now what's changed is rather than technology, the technology's taken on the bits and bytes, how it transforms, the outcome it can give people. How can this transform your customer experience, as I've mentioned? How can it transform your life, what we're seeing? You know, sat nav on a phone. Who doesn't use things like that and Waze? You know, the cost effectiveness of the power you can now get for a small 59 pence app and what it can give you today, and the knowledge we've got in our hands, 24/7, anywhere you are in the world, who doesn't turn to Google or Siri or the plethora of devices that we're seeing? Our world has changed over the last 15 years and is never going back. And for me in sales, it's changed the buyer dynamic, it's changed the selling process in terms of the customer's more informed. So you have to keep evolving to stay relevant. And that makes it interesting.
Yeah. So what was your decision when you knew that I'm going into this career? I'm gonna crush it with cloud and be the #1 expert.
Well, cloud I fell into accidentally. I'd love to strategically saw the future and moved into cloud. An opportunity presented itself. I was aware mid-2000s that cloud and the impact it was having, but it was more that it was a good job opportunity with a good company, and it happened to be cloud. As soon as I got involved with that, I started to see the transformational ability of this, how fast you can deploy a technology, how fast you, as a customer, you can start to receive the benefits. Where in the old world, it could often be a 3 or 6 month project before you could even be logging in as users to get going. Whereas cloud takes away the first stage, which is, when you think about it, had no value to the customer. Installing software and hardware has no value and never has. It's been a necessity to get to the point of actually using. Cloud removes that and says, right, focus on using and configuring the business value from day one, because it's already up and running. Salesforce is a good example. They've done a fantastic job in the cloud sector. You can sign up in seconds online, be logged in, and be doing the basic fundamentals of putting customer data in within seconds. And same with Natterbox. You can very quickly provision a phone system and have the basics and be making a call Where you then spend your time is how can we do the clever stuff? How do we mirror the business process we want to have and the journey for our customer? And that's where you should be investing your time to have business value. Not in the box, here's the operating system, here's the software, here's the patches, here's the network connectivity, and you've lost a week, you've lost 2 weeks, where you get all that stuff in the database. With cloud, switch it on, all that's already running for you. And I think that's the real attractiveness of this piece. So as you guess, I'm quite passionate about this, and being in it has led me to being on the board of the non-execs in many companies, to advising people on cloud strategies. That's some of the accolades you said at the beginning. That's come about by accident. I think some because of being in the right place at the right time, and by doing one thing, what I have done, as we're doing now, is put myself out there. I've tried to contribute to the industry, try and give thought leadership, write articles, blogs. And what I find now is I get a lot of requests in for, could you help guest blog for this, or could you come and present at this event? Then you get seen at an event, and they invite you to do something else. So I've just been invited this morning to join an elite LinkedIn group on social selling of the first 150 in this group that they're looking to take wider, but it's really on the advisory side. So that's come about because of everything else I've done, not because I did it to get that opportunity. So one thing I say to everyone is, put yourself out there and contribute and take part, and don't wait for it to happen, and you will beget other things. One thing will create another opportunity which will lead to 5 others that you could never have seen coming. And I feel quite fortunate to have that opportunity to speak with people like yourselves.
Yeah, and I find that so fascinating because my own experience mirrors that, so I can truly appreciate what you're saying. I've only been involved in cloud technology since January of 2016, but when I started with that, it was more of just seeing the change in the marketplace and how cloud is evolving. I made the decision that I'm going to be as good as I can be, the best, the number one. And to that point, what I did was I started contributing. That was my method. I started writing blog articles. Even though nobody read them, I didn't care. I just put them out there every week, another article. And I started doing podcasts about cloud and just talking to people. And then what I found was, hey, it's becoming so fluent. I can talk about it. I understand it. I could converse with anybody about the technology, and it's relevant. And it's all because, like you said, you contribute first and put yourself out there, and then it'll evolve that way. You'll get there.
Absolutely, and I've met some fantastic people, both in the cloud and the selling community, and you build your own personal brand. And this isn't about marketing or anything, but just by your reputation, and people will find you. With the world we live in of social today, if you build worth, you will get the right followers. They will help you. They will share to their audience, through influencer marketing, and it's up to you what you want to create. That's the beauty of this, I think, with the world we live in, technology such as video and all the social platforms. Is if you've got a voice and you've got some value that you can give, there are people out there who want that value.
Yeah, I actually have a poster hanging on my wall. It's called the Go-Givers. That is really the paradigm that I live by. And it's so counterintuitive what the typical mainstream would think of. Like, what do you mean? You're going to put in all this work for free and you're not getting anything back? But it's not about that, because by giving, you're getting more than you could ever imagine.
And my view is it will come back. I've done many, I've done paid presenting, blogging, etc. But that wouldn't have happened unless I'd given first. We all want to stick out and say, please pay me for this, pay me for everything, monetize everything. But where do you start? And that's how you start. If you're going to make that, my view is, if you put value out there, people will come to you. So I've had some large companies come to me recently, asking to guest blog, provide content. We've seen what you've done. We've seen you're the influencer on this list. But I didn't plan for this. It's just by contributing. And as I say, I live by one thing begets another. Pay it forward, and you will get your rewards. But you don't know what they are today. You can't say, this is what I'm going to get. That's why I'm doing this. It's more, I'm doing all this stuff, and something's going to come back my way, but I don't know what it is yet. And it will. I've witnessed it year on year. it has got it easier for me, and I get more invited to do more of these things.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely hit on a nerve with me. So this is a topic I'm very passionate about. Believe it or not, I actually wrote an article titled "The Best Monetization Solution May Be to Not Monetize."
Yeah. It's not always monetary value, right? Some of it is profile, some of it is, I get invited to the board of this and that, and so some of it is the profile it gives you as well. I'm in the exam a school speaker, so some of it's giving it back, and from that, interesting enough, you learn. So in some of the schools talking I've done, it's interesting hearing the questions that millennials and the Z generation ask of technology and cloud, and I learn from that. So when I am presenting at a corporate event, you've got more context to talk with authority based on those experiences. So it gives me value back that I can utilize elsewhere.
That's a great way to look at it. Okay, so Ian, during those early years as you were building your career, what were some of the challenges or ups and downs that you've experienced along the way?
So I guess being in sales, the one bit I always give advice to people on is sales by definition is this. You can do everything right, and you're not necessarily going to win. Customer may have a change in dynamic, they may be acquired, someone may have to leave their job for personal reasons and the project gets put on hold. There's so many reasons out of your control, apart from obviously losing the business to someone else. Even leveraging, the customer might decide, you know what, I don't see the value in spending the money here right now, we're better investing here. So you can do everything right in sales and still have that effect of, I put all this work in, didn't get the reward. And you've got to live with that. And sales is a cyclical career where you get judged every month. Typically in a role you get reviewed every year. You get that annual review, which personally I don't agree with anyway, it should be an ongoing piece, but you get an annual review. With sales, you get an annual review virtually every month because your numbers there, it's public, everyone knows how well you did or didn't. And you've got to be able to live with that. So it's a different emotional journey. So that's one of the things I've learned over the years. Initially, that can prove a struggle for some people, and certainly myself, because you've got to get used to that being sort of judged publicly in your business every day. Who was the top salesman? If you weren't, where did you come? I had a bad month. And well, everyone knows. The other thing I guess is, and it's a phrase I use often, is you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. So,
over time I've recognized that's something coming into any situation. Everyone has different background experiences. Everyone has different knowledge. So even as a sales leader, I don't know everything about everything. I've got experiences, but a junior person in the room may have a great contribution to make, and they should be encouraged because they'll have an idea that isn't hampered by all the experience I've had. Experience is good, but it can also be bad because you've got that, this is how you do something and solve the problem, and that's drawing me over there. Whereas someone with none of that comes out with an idea you wouldn't have thought of. So I would encourage that you don't know what you don't know, and everyone has something to contribute, and you need to be open to new ideas and to develop. And it works well, certainly with building teams and working with teams. But certainly I didn't know that early on. I've made mistakes because I didn't know things. So my answer was A, I'm going to do A, because that's all I know. So I've realised now, no matter how much you know, there's context outside that, and you've got to be prepared to listen to others a lot more, and also be challenged, no matter what level of the business you're at, and fail. The other thing I've learned through time is be prepared to fail. Don't fail at 90% of things, but do more, knowing you're going to fail at some of it, and correct, rather than do nothing because you're erring on the cautious. Do lots and lots of good decisions fast. Do your diligence as quickly as you can, make educated decisions, but make decisions knowing, do you know what, maybe I'll make some mistakes, but the good will outweigh the bad. Get on with things. And that's how I behave differently now to I would have done with context years ago.
Yeah, that is really beautiful. And I believe Napoleon Hill said that 100 years ago about the mastermind having more minds working together can get you a lot farther than just by yourself, because you have everybody's perspective and context.
Yeah, crowdsourcing it's called. And yeah, with anything, the statistical patterns around this, if you ask 100 people where they think the treasure's buried, and you average it, you're more likely to pick that treasure than any individual. And there's nice documentaries on this that talk about it. So that always strikes me of, the greater of the whole, aggregating it and then coming up with a solution will be better than the individual.
Fascinating. So, Ian, what keeps you motivated every day? Being in sales, money motivated, but that's not the build at the end. I think I'm passionate about winning, about challenging myself, learning new things, but I'm passionate about the outcome we give, having success with customers and relationships that come back and pay back later. So I'm quite proud that I can go back to customers or partners, business partners that I dealt with 20 years ago, and they'll talk to me. It doesn't mean they're going to buy from me, because what I have today may not be right for their situation, but they'll respect that whenever I've interacted with them, I've been respectful, I've served them well, and they'll give me the time back. And I often, that's part of the pay for it. I often get people reach out to me on LinkedIn asking advice about something. And whilst you can't give all your time up, I always try and respond, even if it's point them to a link for a bit of resource. I'm trying to find a job in cloud, go to this recruiter, some good people who can help you use my name, or just giving something back with the balance of time that you can give. Really nice. So, Ian, this the statistic that most small businesses will fail during the first year of business. Where don't you find entrepreneurs going wrong, and what advice would you offer them? Yeah,
that's a wide sweeping question, I guess, because I don't think there's one consistent reason. I'd love to have the golden answer. I could package and sell that one quite easily, but my observations, and I've worked for a number of entrepreneurs who've been particularly successful in building business after business, and one of the observations I've got is use the skills of others around you, as we've already touched upon, as opposed to being, I know everything, and so I've seen many where the entrepreneur's view is, I'm best at everything, so I'm just going to override everything because it's mine, and ownership, as opposed to use skills around you, get advice. Non-executive directorships, I've done a few of those with people where their business isn't broken, but they've asked me, for example, to advise them on sales process because they haven't got the experience in the business, or social selling, or areas where there's someone else you can pull in at an affordable level. You're a startup, so you're not going to burn cash, just to get those nuggets, those short, those marginal gains, as opposed to use assumptions. You haven't got the experience and knowledge, but I'll do it myself. So be willing to speculate to accumulate, I guess. Pay a little bit to get some expertise and skills and advice on areas that you need, because you can't know it all.
That is.
It's leaning on those experts in the market and asking for help. And I think that's what I've seen in some of the experiences I've had, entrepreneurs who are good and others who don't ask anyone, they just get on with it. They shell themselves, and I often wonder, ask me. Just ask me some questions. I could tell you 5 things you're not doing, but you're not asking.
That is very sound advice. Thank you, Ian. So, Ian, where are you looking to take this, let's say, in 5 years?
Me personally, or the
business? Your brand, you.
So, for myself, I'd like, if I can continue on the path I've been on, I've got a good reputation of I believe, from feedback of, and the references I've got of delivering quality, delivering value, and being respected for what I do in the cloud sector. My goal right now is to expand that in the cloud telephony sector that I'm in. I'm relatively new into this subsection of cloud, so to learn more about the market of telecoms and telephony, to become hopefully a thought leader in this subsector. and to continue doing as I'm doing and contributing. I'm a judge on a number of awards, Cloud Awards, I think you might mention, Women's Sales Awards, Institute of Sales and Marketing Awards. So to give back, because all the time I'm doing that, I'm also learning from the people I'm engaging with. So for me, in fact, over the next 5 years, apart from I'd love to retire and make the big amount and spend time with the family, but in day-to-day operations, to continue learning, to look back in 5 years and believe I've developed myself further, I've learned new knowledge, skills, and experiences, and I'm better than I am today.
Really nice. So Ian, I know we touched upon this earlier on, but if you could rewind the clock, let's say 12 months, would there be anything different that you do?
Yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing, I guess, right? I try not to look back and look on regrets and things you haven't done, because you don't know what, if I hadn't done X, which might have been a bad experience, would I be where I am today? I mean, that's the challenging thing. You know, we've all made bad choices and bad experiences, but if you hadn't done that, has that helped you grow? Has it helped me make different decisions today than I would have done if I hadn't gone through that? And it's a difficult one to know. Where would I be today if I hadn't done 4 or 5 things in the last 4 or 5 years, including the bad decisions? Would I be in a good place now? And you can't know, right? So I'm not so sure I'd change anything. I'd love to have foresight, so that I could avoid making any mistakes. But for me, I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly looking at new ideas and learning from people around me. I think what I've learned that I didn't do as much back then is to get engaged with people with the skill sets that you want to have. Find that audience and engagement. So, for example, I'm non-exec on a board of Digital Leadership Associates, a social selling company. There are now 12 of us in that group, and the expertise when we sit around the table is incredible. We've got 2 TED speakers, we've got global social sales experts, I lead in the cloud. The wealth of expertise and the knowledge I'm learning of those other individuals, and hopefully what I'm partaking and giving as well, is invaluable, because we've got such an expert group. So it's accelerated learning in that particular social selling area of expertise. Before, I'd have read, listened to blogs, but get yourself embedded, go to events, meet the people, and learn from them. Because you learn quicker, I think, in my experience, of reading a book, because they've got the real world experience of what works, what doesn't. Ask them questions, challenge them.
So Ian, you know, this is a very popular topic. We've got so many people writing in with questions. So
sure.
We're going to take the top 5 and we're going to go through them.
Okay.
All right. So first question is from Peter Hoffman, a holistic lifestyle coach in Bergen County, New Jersey. So Peter writes, what is the most effective marketing tool or strategy you would recommend to an entrepreneur looking to sustainably grow a service business, such as an in-person and online coaching business?
That's a great, wide-sweeping question. So I'll give you a thought. I think there's a much wider answer to that than we could fill a whole session with. So a thought to that is, what I've been observing in marketing is a lot of the traditional marketing methods are struggling, not totally failing, but they're challenged. And I hear this from business after business, who are short of leads and opportunities. What is the big thing you want? And that question that Peter's asked, I would gain. He wants engagement with the right audience to be able to sell his services, his materials, his wares. So my thought to that would be, step back from that, rather than go out and spend and do shows, etc. Would be identify who you're right. What is your customer persona? What does your customer look like? Your ideal customer. And as you asked me earlier, I think in a slightly different way, what does your customer look like? The majority of them. Okay, so if that's what they look like. Once you've defined that, where do they reside? Who influences them? Do they reside in certain communities on LinkedIn or on Snapchat, or where is that persona going to be? How do I reach them? And who are the influencers on those platforms that would reach them? So for me, for example, as described, our ideal customer is first in the Salesforce ecosystem. They've got Salesforce. So where do I find Salesforce customers as opposed to going out to the universe? Do I look in Salesforce groups on LinkedIn? Do I look at Twitter and search for people using the hashtag Salesforce? Do I start to build a list of who those people might be? And then look at who are they retweeting, who are they sharing, what blogs are they in, what groups are they in? How do I contribute in those groups to get them to notice me? Because this is all cheap guerrilla marketing. You don't have to spend adverts and banners. This is, how do I get them to notice something? So it depends on what your service or product is. If it's visual and it's children you're trying to get to, well, put a video of it on Facebook, right? Get people to share it and go viral. If it's business-orientated service that addresses realtors, then where's the group? Let's post something in there that talks about the outcome they'll get from my service. Not in a product pitch, but would you like to increase your customer engagement of buyers of new properties by 30%? And how would you do that? And maybe that leads to the service you're providing, but you talk about the outcome. They're going to be gravitating to, that's interesting. Someone's posted this, that's an interest. I'll have a look at that. Don't do a product pitch. You're giving something to them. They will come to you. If they value what you're saying, tell them how you can do it generically. And we do this around telephony. It's some of the things you can get out of it as an outcome. And it's great. And the way you do it is you build rules around this. Give an example. And if you want to learn more, see a video, come here. You can draw them to you at the end. But 99% of it is, I'm giving you value. So I'd say identify what your profile of your customer is. Where do you find them? If you can buy a data list of it that's accurate, absolutely, data integrity is key. If not, who influences them? Use influencer marketing. That would be some of my thoughts. Because we all know do an event, do a mail shot and all that stuff. And, you know, I question looking at the percentages people get back from that, it's broken. It's broken. The stats prove it. So how do you do something different to engage them?
And that goes back to the theme of giving instead of looking to take. Buy me, buy my stuff. By contributing, people will want to buy from you.
If you do an advert or it's a pitch, you know, they open something and then 3 lines in, it's obviously a product pitch. What do we all do? Think yourself, what do you do? That's what your cut prospect's going to do. Whereas if it's something educational, I read it all the time. I see something that purports to tell you how to generate more leads, or all the things that are important to me as a sales leader. I'll read it. But if two minutes in I realise this is a pitch, I'm gone. What I'm looking for is give me insight, give me value. And if I go down and then it leads into, oh, this is great. And then there's something that draws me in, and this is how you can do this using this tool. Well, I'm hooked now. I'm hooked in, I buy this. How do you, show me how you do it, help me. They'll come and look at you. So earn the rights first and then draw them in, but don't pitch them. It's the soft sell.
Wow, really great advice. Okay, question 2. So this is from Jay McBain, an accomplished speaker, author, and innovator in the IT industry from Albany, New York.
I'm aware of Jay, so hi Jay, thanks for the question.
So we actually had Jay on a couple of episodes ago.
Excellent.
So Jay asked, given the changes in the end customer buying journey, how do partners and vendors revamp their sales and marketing to focus online of business executives?
Yeah, so partner marketing, I was in the channel for many years, and I think it relates back to the first question I said, is understand your audience, and then, you know, the data set, but then the quality of content. You know, content is king is a phrase you use often. And I think the channel, what I've witnessed in the channel often is the same material from the technology vendor often gets regurgitated. So it's corporate branding, often it's product-led instead of outcome-led for the customer, and it's rippled down through the channel. So vendor creates something, market distribution may take it and evolve it and say, here's the value to the channel, and it gets rippled down. You know, this for me is you need to look at the customer-centric. Who is your customer? What's the value you're giving them? And it isn't data on the product and the features and the functions and its newest, greatest, blah, blah, and it's going to save you money. That isn't anything. You know, the ROI piece and the TCO calculator, and is it going to save you? So everyone promises this stuff. Give me something that's tangible that makes me engage. I call them grabbers. Give me something that grabs my attention that I care about. I'm the prospective client. Understand my buying persona and give me something that grabs that attention and addresses that. And you may need different messaging to different audiences. Again, what I see often is very generic because it's easier to do. One message and that goes out to the market. And it's from a vendor messaging because we've used co-op funds to generate this and send it. Therefore, it ticks the box to get the funds. So my view is, firstly, the data you're sending it to, what method are you using to get it to, and what's the data? Because if that isn't good, you're wasting your time anyway. If you have got a good audience, so you know how you get this data, so now what is the content and what's the quality, what's the value to the customer? Put yourself in the customer's shoes. What am I getting out of this? And they don't want to be sold product information features. They want to know, what is the outcome? How does this transform or help my business, top and bottom line? And how does it help me personally? Does it help me be more efficient in my job, that I can be the shining star in the business? That's what's the personal outcome and what's the business outcome? Have I got to reduce our operating costs by 10% this year because I'm in a constrained market? Well, how do you help them do it? Show them how you're going to do that with whatever you've got. Get the messaging aligned to their business or their vertical and their individual agendas. And I think that's the big difference I see in channel, is still there's a lot of generic messaging and brand messaging. And people know they're being marketed to. What they want is, just tell me something that helps me get something good out of this. And then all the brand stuff and that will follow.
Great. So next question is from Stella Merkovich, business owner at Rodan & Fields in Wyckoff, New Jersey. So Stella writes, many people are hesitant about securing cloud service. How would you briefly describe what is in the cloud and how is cloud service kept safe?
I think part of what we touched on earlier, so Stella, I agree, it remains the biggest concern. My advice to people has always been, whilst being heavily in cloud, is cloud isn't right for everyone, every time, for every need in your business. So what I've advocated is always consider, whether it's a business application, service, whatever you're doing, look at what cloud options are available and consider them. But in doing so, do your diligence and mitigate risk. So the first question is, what data are you putting in the service? How critical and confidential is that data, firstly? Because there's differences, right, between just putting some simple data in to the crown jewels. So what is the data, firstly? And that's one consideration. And then understand that not all cloud providers are born equal. Just because they're cloud does not mean they've all got the same security regime. They're not that they're doing all the same diligence and hosting, etc. So ask the questions: where is it going to be? Where's my data going to be? Where are the backups going to be? Who has access to the data? What is data destruction? If I leave your service, do you totally remove the data? Can you give it? And any good cloud provider, and this is one of the things the Cloud Industry Forum we advocate, is transparency. Any good cloud provider should go, yeah, give it all clear answers for this. In fact, a lot of them should be, if not all, on the website. But you should certainly be allowed to ask those and not find there's any nervousness of the answers they give. And if you find something that we can't tell you where the data is, okay, maybe it needs an NDA for some things because they want to protect their intellectual property. But if they can't tell you some of the fundamentals, you should make your decision appropriately. But ask questions. It's your right to do so, and ask the same questions when you come to renewal. This is what you told me when I put my data with you. Can you tell me if anything's changed? Just so I'm aware I've done my diligence again. And no cloud provider should fear a customer asking those questions. They should be fair to us.
Great. So next question is from Jason Lieberman, CEO of Lieberman Networks in Fort Lee, New Jersey. So Jason writes, where do you think the next big IT service consolidation will occur? For instance, hosted email has strong momentum moving from on-prem to Google Apps and Office 365. What will be the next area to convert to large service providers?
So that particularly relates to my background. In cloud, my first roles were in hosted email security, the filtering of all the bad stuff, and certainly we've seen the involvement there as well. Those were separate products, even in cloud, and that's now evolved to be, as you described, built into 365 and Google. Those products, Google bought Fustini, Microsoft bought a company called Frontbridge and embedded the filtering technology within the hosted mail. So we've seen consolidation within that space on top of it. I think what we're going to see, if I had to pick one, I think that stands out in my head would be AI. Right now, there is a plethora of AI technology. There's some big names we hear, but there's also lots of incredible startup companies doing very innovative technology. I think that's going to be pervasive within IoT devices, within cloud, within websites. We're going to see smart chatbots that will automatically talk to you. You won't know you're not talking to a human. We're going to see predictive routing of information. And think about, we're already starting to see it in the devices. We get smart fridges or early days, but a fridge that predicts based on its learning when it last needed to, not that it reorders milk when you run out, but it's watching your usage, it's predicting, and it knows it needs to order more because at weekends your usage goes up. And AI fundamentally can change the way we do virtually everything because it can bring that predictive analysis into play and be 3 steps ahead. So I think that's the biggest I think we'll see. I think we'll see the AI technology being embedded. It won't necessarily present itself as AI to us. We won't see the term, this is an AI product. It will just be a product that works far more smartly than we've ever seen before. The technology, the power of the technology is there now. We've got phone apps which are incredibly smart because they're using cloud processing and data behind the scenes. Why wouldn't it be AI? The processing power is now easy. So I think that's the big, I think we're going to see the transformation from.
Great. Final question. So this question is from Michelle McBain, chairperson of CompTIA's Advancing Women in IT Executive Council in Albany, New York. So Michelle was also a guest here a few episodes ago. So Michelle writes, from one extremely social person to another, how do you determine what to share publicly versus privately? What is your guidance to others? What was your greatest lesson in social selling? And if you can share one best practice to someone just starting out, what would it be?
Well, some good questions there. So privately and publicly, I think there's a fundamental piece. And I've done podcasts about talking about recruitment, both from an employer side and a candidate side of social. And I think that's a good baseline for this is don't put anything out there public that could affect you negatively, and you've got to assume anyone can find it. So think of, if you're going for a job, is there anything publicly that I as an employer might find? Because I can search your name in seconds in Google, and it's going to present me with all the top stuff. Search yourself. Firstly, search yourself, and in the first 2 or 3 pages, what comes up? Is there anything you wouldn't want me to see? Because people do make judgments, rightly or wrongly. And I've heard people say before, well, that's their problem, not mine. Yeah, but if you don't, for example, get to the interview, you'll never know it's because they saw something inappropriate, whatever, and you can argue that's not fair, but that's reality. You can't defend it. You can't then, so you have to live with that fact of people will make a judgment on you, like it or not. So you may be the greatest person in the world, but if there's a photograph looking something inappropriate and that person takes offense, it's their right to be offended. So that's how I'd look at it. I think, is there anything I'm sharing that could be considered offensive? And for that, it's the usual things, right? Politics, religion, sexism. Just think about what you're posting. Don't post overtly sexist pictures. If you want to keep that private, but if you put it public, the consequence will come to you from people seeing it. What about, customers, etc.? We're all social now, and I always advise my salespeople, assume your customer will search you and look you up. Make sure that first impression is good. The first impression now is not when I walk in the room and shake your hand. Those days are gone. The first impression is made before we ever meet. We check each other out on social. So make sure it's a good impression, not a bad one. Sorry, what was the last part of the question Michelle asked? There was a piece tail at the end.
What was your greatest lesson in social selling? And if you can share one best practice, what would it be?
Sure. Well, that's a good question. So a basic one, I think, a fundamental one for people is think about what you're sharing. So, for example, consider sharing, I do a rule 4-1-1. Think about sharing 4 pieces of value, maybe one bit of something entertaining, might be a cartoon, something smiley for the day or something, and then one piece of your product or your pitch or something about your company. Get the balance. Don't do, if it's a company account, I get it, it's going to be relative. But if it's you and your bio, don't do company, 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 company. And certainly my advice would be don't do great sandwich, wow, look at this drink, wow, look at... Really, do your followers want to see that stuff? Unless you're a blogger on food. So, think about the mix you're sharing. If you're giving value. I was at 4-1-1's a rule I've seen, 4 bits of value and 4 bits of information. And then you can slide in something that's a bit more light-hearted. Might be about the latest movie or something that, again, is non-offensive and fine. And then the final one is, here's something great, we won an award, or our product's wonderful, look. Get the balance. And so you're giving value to your audience so people want to follow you based on why do I want to see what you're posting. That would be if I had to give one thing, just an easy one that people can adhere to.
Great, and that 4-1-1 is a great way to remember it.
Sure.
All right, Ian, I know you're a busy guy. We're going to let you go in just a bit. Just before we do, how do people connect with you?
Sure. So 2 web addresses. If you go to Ian Moyse, IANMOYSE.co.uk, that will take you to my LinkedIn profile, and ianmoyse.cloud will take you straight to my Twitter profile. So simple branding example there. Rather than try and remember the Twitter and slash, I've made it easy. They'll go straight to the profiles redirected.
Great. I'm going to put that in the show notes so people can just click on it and go right there. All right.
Thank you.
All right. So, Ian, do you have any parting words of wisdom that you'd like to leave the audience with?
Crikey. Come up with words of wisdom. You know what? Let me get something from the social sphere that I talk about often. Is put yourself out there and take part. Often I speak to people who say, well, I'm not on Twitter, I'm not doing this because I don't want to post about, I don't want to spend my whole time posting and talking about my life. You don't need to. Listen. Firstly, listen. Observe. Pick the people you want to follow. Learn from the information. You'll find a wealth of information being fed to you because the good people are sharing really good content, and then look to engage. And you'll get more than you put in back. That would be my big piece of advice that I've learned over the last few years. Social is an incredible tool if you use it to your advantage.
Great. Ian, thank you so much for sharing your time and your wisdom. I really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you. I do appreciate the opportunity.